Hi, I'm James Fenson from Moore & DeLille, and today's training session is on Xero's bank reconciliation, and we're targeting at Cashbook users. Okay, let's just jump into Xero now. As you'll see, I'm in the demo company and we're just going to look at our ASB bank account and reconcile some of those 28 transactions sitting there. So let's go into our bank rec. Now if you get any of these green boxes that pop up on your screen, feel free to have a read and then click the little button to hide those, and that'll give you a bit more desk space to use in the future. Okay, so essentially in our bank reconciliation process, the Xero pulls through information directly from your bank account, in this case ASB, and it knows that should every transaction come through into the Xero system, we'd have a bank balance of 18,000. At the moment our balance is only 11,000, and that's because we've got 28 transactions that haven't been reconciled. Once we've gone through and coded all of those 28 transactions, the bank account and the bank statement and the bank account in Xero will be the same, and we'll get a big green tick saying that they all match up. Next thing to be aware of is that there's two sides to this bank reconciliation. On the left hand side we have all the information directly from the bank statement, and this is all the lines of the bank statement that we haven't told Xero what they relate to. We haven't coded them or we haven't matched them in any way. On our right hand side is how Xero wants to match these transactions. So we'll have a look at these first few transactions. The first transaction is essentially one where Xero has found a match, so you'll see that there's 4 tabs across the top here. So in Xero, when we code these transactions, we can match them with something that exists in the system. We can create or tell Xero how to code that transaction to something new. We can tell it if it's a bank transfer, we can tell Xero that. Or if we're really not sure about it, we can put some comments or discuss it, and I'll talk about those all a bit later. So the only time that Xero will match something is if we've been using the debtors system, the creditors system, or if we've previously keyed a transaction into Xero, be it a bank transfer, or in the debtors and creditors modules we can also key transactions. So in this case the deposit is relating to an invoice, and Xero has that invoice in the system and has basically said, oh okay, so Ridgeway University invoice 35 for that amount, that matches something that's already in our system. Are we happy with it? If you're happy with it, just click OK and that will be reconciled and disappeared. Similar, our next one is a creditors payment of $1,100 that's gone out of our bank account. In the system we'd already keyed an invoice for that same amount to the same customer. If we were happy with that, we would click OK, and that's now 2 items that have disappeared. Our reconciliation total is now down to 26. The next transaction's one where we don't have something already in the system, so we're going to click on that Create tab and we're going to key in some information. Now I know that Smart Agency is obviously already in the system because as I started to type it, it's found it. They're our advertising agency and we use them all the time, so I'll pull down the down arrow here and click on Advertising Expense. This was for our marketing plan, so I'll just put a little bit more information in there. Now we can also tell it what tracking codes that we want to use in relation to that, and double check the GST treatment. So in this case, because it's advertising, our default for advertising is that it is GSTable. If we wanted to see anything more in relation to that, we could click on the Add Detail button, but we're happy with that, so let's click OK. This next transaction we can see, and this is something as an accountant we really encourage our clients to use. You're not too sure about it, so we've written down here it's a really old invoice, wasn't too sure where to code it. The great thing about these comments or discussions is as your accountant, every time we log into Xero, we don't even have to go into your particular Xero application. Just logging into Xero, we can see any clients where they've left a comment and it's sitting on our screen. So it's a great way to sort of communicate those queries to us. Obviously if you're wanting to know and code it straight away, then you're still better to give us a call or fire us an email. But if it's something you want to have looked at in the next few days, then there's a high chance that we will have gone into Xero by then and spotted that. So let's look down and pick another one. Let's imagine this deposit advance of $2,000 actually was a bank transfer from our savings account. So if I click on transfer, what we'll see here is that Only time you'd use a transfer is if you have both of those accounts or multiple accounts set up in Xero. So in this case we have our savings account set up in here, so I can click savings account, and what this will do is not only enter this particular entry saying that the $2,000 came into our check account, but it will also enter the other side of the transaction. So it will tell Xero that $2,000 came out of my savings account, and that will be waiting for me in the savings account to reconcile as a completed transaction. So let's just click OK to that one. On the next transaction here we can see that we've got the Ridgeway bank fee. Now Xero's come up and said, is this okay to code, but you can see it's not green, it hasn't matched it off with anything. What's actually happened in this case is if I scroll down to the bottom, you'll see this little tick box here of suggest previous entries. What Xero's done is it's recognised the fact that we always code our transactions to Ridgeway Banking Corporation to bank fees. So it's just assumed that that's what it's going to be and has pre-entered that information. If we're happy with it, we can click OK. You can see that the GST has been treated correctly. We are probably happy with that. But always does double check those, because it could be that the last time you entered the transaction it was for something very different to what you normally do. It's going to pick the last transaction and code that, so you just want to make sure you are double checking those before you click the OK button. What we'll do here, we've got create transaction, Cooper Street Bakery. Let's key something in here, so I'll go Cooper. This one doesn't exist as a client in our system, so I'll put it in. Now basically for that name, Xero is just wanting to link all those transactions to the same supplier or customer together so that you've got a list of them to find in the future. If I look under account code, I'm wanting to code this to, let's say, an account called food. I don't have one there called food, so I want to create a new one. I'll just double check. There's definitely nothing there for food. You'll notice that there's no option on this summary screen to add a new account. However, if I click the add details, I then get a few more options. So not only can I put in multiple lines for this particular one, when I click on the account code I get the ability to add a new account up the top there. So I can say it's an expense, the account code is 500 and relates to food. There's GST on that, so that's great. I can put more description I want, but if I'm happy with that I can just click Save Transaction and click OK. The next transaction you'll see here is actually applied a rule. So we can set up rules, and we'll be doing that in a separate section, training session, but you'll see that there's been a rule set up for 7-Eleven. It's been applied, it's coding to that. I've got the options of clicking don't apply the rule if I don't want to apply it, or view details if I'm wanting to check to make sure it is what I want. So it goes to the corner store, it's coded to office expenses, there's GST taken on it, that all looks okay. Click Save Transaction and OK. So those are some of the core functions there in Xero. Tune into one of our other sessions where we look at bank reconciliations as it applies to debtors and creditors a bit more. We do matching and searching and allocating against payments, and we'll also look at storing documents against particular transactions and a few other useful hints and tricks. So hopefully that's been of use to you, and as I say, tune into some of our other sessions if you want some more training.